All right, so everyone says that followers don't equal money, that you can't turn followers into revenue in a predictable way. And I'm here today to tell you otherwise. I'm here today to tell you that if you have a good system in place, you can 100% do that. So without any further ado, let's dive in. What I'm going to cover in today's video is I'm going to cover the proof, right? So who I am, what I've done, and why you should listen to me on this matter specifically. I'm going to cover the process, and then I'm going to cover the math behind the process. This is going to be a very unfiltered, very raw, very direct video. I just want to get it done, get it posted, and give you guys a whole lot of value. So that being said, who am I to speak on this? My name is George Nita. I run dmsetting.com. I'm the founder of dmsetting.com, and I've generated over $40 million in high ticket sales in the last 3.5 years. Right now, across all of our clients, we're generating and managing a little bit over $2 million a month with a process that I'm about to share here in this video today. You can pause the screen. You can look at some of the results we've had, like a $450K a month, $57,000 a day, 6x growth in a couple of months right here with this business, taking them from a 12% close rate to a 35% close rate, 320K months, $47,000 days, 1 million in revenue, I think 900 something, almost $1 million in cash as well here across 3 months in cash collected. So you can see more for yourself. You can also go to the website and see some of the people that we're working with or that we've worked with in the past. I'm sure you're going to recognize a lot of the names. Now, moving forward to the process, the way we're actually doing it is we use followers. We then have a DM conversation that leads them to a sales call, that leads them to a client, right? That leads them to revenue. Now, I'm going to explain why this works so well in a second. I'll say this to not get ahead of myself. This can be Facebook, it can be Twitter, it can be LinkedIn. I just use Instagram here as this is the platform that we're using most frequently, that most people that we're working with have big followings on compared to the rest of the platforms that they might be active on. Now, you're seeing here that DM conversation is bolded out. And this is really the key to the castle. This is really what allows us to create that predictability. And this is how we're able to achieve the results that we're able to achieve by building out incredibly efficient, data-driven DM departments through DM setters. Obviously, you might have heard the term in the past. Maybe you've tried DM setters yourself, but we do it with a catch. We don't hire human robots. We don't hire overseas talent for $3 to $4 an hour. And then we also are not hiring phone setters or not having phone setters do DMs in their dead time in between their calls, because that's silly. And this is why maybe if you've tried this in the past, it never really worked out for you. The way we're actually doing it, and I'm going to break down the thought process behind it here in a second. So the way we're actually doing it is we're hiring people that are emotionally intelligent, people that understand sales psychology and have went through specific sales training, people that understand cultural differences. If you're selling to the US market, especially the common folk, the consumer, right? Or maybe even more sophisticated people, you know this is a very, very big, important thing. The way people talk, the way people express themselves. A lot of DM setters don't know how to talk like US people talk. And that's a big issue because your followers are smart and they can pick up on it. And if you've tried this in the past and you didn't get results, that's likely why, right? The other thing is those DM setters that we work with, the catch here is they can talk and sound exactly like you, or exactly like the way you want them to, and they are true sales professionals. This is how we're able to achieve the 500K months that we've already done up until this point across many different clients. Now, the thought process behind this and the philosophy behind this, and what I initially saw a gap in the market many years ago when I first started doing this, is everyone was treating DM setters as this like overseas talent, $3 an hour, just hide at the bottom of the barrel, don't care about them, put them in the DMs, and then whatever happens, happens. And then they weren't getting results, and they're like, oh, DM setting doesn't work. And if you look at it on the other side of the business, right, you have the closing department. And then when you hire closers, what do you really care about? The way they show up, the way they represent your brand, how well spoken they are, how intelligent they are, how smart they are, how emotionally intelligent they are, how well they can build rapport. Like you care about all those different things. And when you're hiring closers for your business, obviously those are going to be incredibly important things because they're going to be one of the first points of contact that a potential client has with your business. So this person needs to be 10 out of 10. Like they need to be spot on. And where I saw a gap was people were treating closers this way, but they were not treating DM setters this way. So this is what I did. I started treating DM setters this way. And I started building out departments with true sales professionals that have sales experience, that have sales knowledge, that are emotionally intelligent, that are proficient people, that understand cultural differences, that they can adapt and speak very well, and they can think for themselves. And this is how we're able to achieve the 400, 500, 600,000, $1 million months with what we're doing with this process right here by hiring those kinds of people. So it's a very, very, very big difference. We treat DM setters or DM setting department as another sales unit of the company. That's how we're able to achieve all of this. Now, What I want to spend most of the time on in this video is I just want to give you the math behind it, and I'll basically give you like a proven process or a formula to go ahead and implement this right away for your business. And there's a couple of metrics that you're gonna have to get clarity on. Obviously, those first four ones are super easy. So you got audience, offer price point, close rate, show rate. Obviously, you have all those metrics at this point. Now, the next three ones are gonna be a little bit trickier, and I'm gonna actually start from the bottom up, and I'm gonna explain them. So remember here, we have followers and then we have DM conversations, right? So for us to have DM conversations, we got to message the followers, and we're going to have to get clarity on our outbound DM response rate, right? And I'm going to give you KPIs for this in a second. We'll talk about that in a second, but we're going to have to get clarity on if we message this amount of people, how many people are actually going to get back to us in return. From there, the people that get back to us, we consider them as DM conversations, okay? And the next metric that we want to look at is the DM conversation to cold proposal ratio. So out of the people that get back to us, how many people actually lead to a cold proposal? After we qualify them, we nurture them, we send them resources, we financially qualify them, we sell them on the opportunity, and we convince them that this is the right thing, and we spark a bunch of interest. How many of those people, after all those different things, are ending up in a cold proposal? So that's the second thing that you want to get clarity on here that I'm going to give you the KPI for in a second. And then the third one, last but not least, is going to be out of those people that we do that we send a cold proposal to, how many actually end up into a booked call on the closer's calendar, qualified booked call. Those are the three metrics that you really want to get clarity on as you're building out this department or as you're building out this process. Now, to make it super easy for you and to make your life a whole lot easier, those are the KPIs that we've gathered across, at this point, millions of DMs, probably multiple millions of DMs. So outbound response rate, we typically have a 20%, 20 to 25% response rate on the outbound messages that we're sending to the followers. From there, our DM conversation, so the people that respond, so the cold proposal ratio is roughly 25% because some of those people are going to coast along the way. Some of those people are not going to be financially qualified. After we really explain and sell the opportunity, they might not be interested. Life gets in the way, et cetera, et cetera. So about 25% of those people, which is a very, very, very healthy metric, are going to lead into a cold proposal. From there, from the cold proposal to cold book ratio, we typically see around a 70%, sometimes even 80%, but this is also going to depend on a lot of other factors like booking availability, how far out you're booking people, how many slots you have available, how big your team is, et cetera, right? So typically your benchmark should be this: 70%, 25%, and then 20%. Now, let's dive into the formula. There's a couple of steps here. So step one, I want to get clarity on the monthly potential. Okay, so for this, it's super easy. You're just going to take your followers, multiply by 150. You're going to get the monthly potential. In this case, 100K followers, for the sake of simplicity, for this video, times 150 equals 150K per month. So now we have a good general idea of what the monthly potential is. The second step here is we're going to take the monthly goal, right? So the monthly potential, we're going to divide it by the offer price in order to find out the amount of deals that we need. So in this case, we need about 30 deals closed. Okay, 150 divided by 5K, 30 deals closed. Next up, step three, we're going to have to find out the amount of calls that we need to take. So for that, we're going to take the deals, we're going to divide it by the close rate. We're going to find out the amount of calls that we need to take. In this case, 100 calls taken. Step four, we want to find out how many calls we actually need to book. So we found out how many calls we need to take. Now let's see how many we need to book. We're going to take 100. We're going to divide it by a 65% show rate, which, by the way, the 30% close and 65% show rate, if you're wondering where I'm pulling those metrics from, again, this is based on thousands, probably a little bit over 20,000, maybe 25,000 sales calls that we've booked in the last 9 months. If I were to estimate here, those are pretty much the standard conversions that we have with our DM setters, with our processes that we implement for our clients, right? Sometimes it's a little bit lower, for close rate, it might be 25, 28%. Sometimes we also have teams where we have a 38%, 42% close rate. And then same thing here, it might be as low as 60% or 58%, or as high as 77 to 80% show rate. But I just went with the averages here for sake of simplicity in this video. So back to step four, calls booked needed. We need 153 sales calls booked. Now, up until this point, those are all the sales metrics. This is probably something you're very, very familiar with at this point. This is where it gets interesting because now we're going to reverse engineer it into actionable KPIs for the DM department, for the DM setters, okay? So we're going to have to find out for step number 5, how many calls we need to propose. So we're going to take the 153, we're going to divide it by the 70% call proposal to call booking ratio that I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. And we're going to find out that we need 218 calls proposed. From there, step 6, last but not least, we're going to look at calls proposed to DM call proposal ratio in order to get the new DM conversations that we need, right? So in this case, we're going to take the 218, we're going to divide it by the 25% benchmark that I was telling you about, and then we're going to find out that we need 872 new conversations in total. So now we know how many new people we need to talk with in order for us to generate 150K per month from the DM department through this process and through those conversion metrics. Now, here's where it gets interesting, right? Because those new conversations come with a little bit of a catch. And there's two different ways to go about generating these new conversations. The first one is just going to be outbound and just reaching out to followers. So if we're going to have to do 872 new conversations, that means we need to get 872 new people to respond to our outbound message at a benchmark of a 20% response rate. We're likely in around 4.3 to 4.4K outbound DMs. Okay, so you could do this. This is one avenue, and this is fine by all means, especially if you don't really have a content plan in place to drive inbounds. But if you do have a content plan in place, or if you're in a position where you could dedicate more resources to your DM department, then this is what I think is a very, very, very healthy ratio, and the healthiest way to do it, and the healthiest way to optimize for longevity and to really make the most out of your audience. So we're going to have a 50-50 mix between inbounds and outbounds. What this means, from the 872, half of that is going to have to be new inbound conversations, and then the other half is going to have to be outbound responses at a 20% response rate, which means we need to send roughly almost 2.2K outbound DMs per month, right, to followers, to 2,200 almost individual followers. So let's zoom out a little bit, and let's take a look at the monthly KPIs, because this is going to be super interesting. So when you sum it all up, monthly KPIs, we're going to need 30 deals. For those 30 deals, we're going to need 100 sales calls taken and 153 sales calls booked. For us to get 153 sales calls booked, we're going to have to propose 218 calls over DM conversations. For that, we're going to need 872 new conversations split between 436 inbound DMs, 2180 outbound DMs. That will obviously lead into 436 responses. Okay, super easy, super straight to the point. Now, to make it even easier for you guys, I basically broke it down into daily KPIs just so you can see how easy it is, and just so you can take this to your team and literally implement ASAP. So daily KPIs, we're just going to need 1 deal a day for 30 deals a month. You're going to need 5 sales calls booked every single day, roughly. You're going to need 7 to 8 calls proposed on a daily basis. It's hard to put a specific number on this. We more so look at it on a weekly basis. But to break it down on the daily, make it easy for you, 7 to 8 calls proposed per day. For that, you need 30 new conversations every single day, split between 15 inbounds, 15 outbound responses, for which you need 75 outbound DMs. And that's it. That's how you make $150,000 a month, reverse engineered into small, daily, actionable items, daily KPIs that you can implement right away. You can use this formula, plug in your numbers. If you have 200, 300, 400, 500,000 followers, you can imagine the amount of money that you can make from this. Then obviously, all those metrics would be significantly higher at this point, and you likely need a team of multiple DM sellers, likely 4 or 6 or even 8 DM sellers, depending on the volume that we have or that you have. But to wrap this up, guys, I don't want to make this any longer. I'll say this. This is going to work best if you want to implement something like this, if you have at least 80 to 100,000 followers, so that you actually have something to work with. And that's so when you create content and the content strategy around it to drive inbounds, you're going to get a healthy amount of people that actually respond and raise their hands to that. And then you're going to have a proven product in the sales process. This is going to work best if the product is proven, if you have results, if you have testimonials, if you have a proven thing that you're selling. The other thing here that I didn't mention is ideally a 5K plus package, just for the economics to make sense. Because if you're going to try and sell something at $500 instead of $5,000, for example, you're going to need 300 deals. And for you to get 300 deals, those numbers are basically going to 10x. And it's going to be very, very hard for you to pull something like this off. You basically need 10 deals a day, 300 new conversations, 750 outbound DMs. Instagram typically doesn't even allow that many DMs on a daily basis. So the numbers become very, very skewed to lower the prices. So if you can have a 5,000 plus offer, this is how this is going to work best. Now, if you have all of this, or any of this at least, and you want to chat to me personally about how you can make an extra 100 to 300,000 a month with a process that I shared above, which, by the way, I'm going to record more videos on, and I'm going to go significantly more and a lot more in depth into this part of the process right here for the DM conversation. You can book a call with me. There's a link right below this video. We're going to do a funnel breakdown on the call. I'm going to look at all of your metrics, and we're basically going to reverse engineer everything on a little bit of a more advanced level. just so you know exactly what the KPIs are, regardless of whether we work together or not. And then we're going to discuss implementation and see if there's any synergy there in any way, or any way for me to step in and help out with this. So that being said, if you're interested in this, book a call below. If not, totally cool. Subscribe, stay tuned. I'm going to aim to post 2 or 3 of those videos every single week moving forward, and really share with you guys everything that I've learned generating over $40 million through DM setters.